My wife and I have a permanent camper spot at Lake Tawakoni, Texas. Wind Point Park is the name of the place. And here's the deck that we ended up building to go with our camper. It's about an 8 by 24 deck. Kind of give you a little more details on how we built it. Just show you some of the progress. It's all pictures. I couldn't do videos, just would have taken way too much time. We kind of started by creating a sketch of the site itself, and you can see on here it looks like there's two decks. We had a 14 by 14 section and then an 8 by 24. We ended up scrapping the 14 by 14 covered section for now. And here's a copy of the digital plans we had to make to turn in to get approval from the facility to add the deck. So we started out putting 4x4 posts in the ground. They had to be cemented in. Again, we're going to cut them off to be even length as we get a little closer here. And now we put in, you can see we started running all the joists. We were using 2x8 treated joists, or sorry, 2x10 I believe, and then 2x12 was the runners there. And then we're starting to get all the joists filled in on this picture, as you can see. Unfortunately, we ended up doing this we started right towards the end of July, so we worked on it in July, August, and September, and it was just a beat down. We only had the weekends to do it. You can see with the joists there, we used joist hangers, the little metal brackets, but we also put screws and or bolts into everything to help make sure it was secure. Tried our best to make sure this is going to be rock solid when it's done. And hopefully, I know all my neighbors at the campsite will be ready for it to be done too, because there was many Saturday and Sunday mornings that we were up very early, sawing and using the impact driver to get all this put together. There's my rickety stairs I built just as a temporary solution to get us up on the deck. The goal of the deck was to be able to walk straight out of the camper onto the deck without having to have steps. But of course, you got to have steps at some point. So we just made steps onto the deck, and I've got better steps you'll see later that were actually the permanent ones. And at this point, I'm getting the joist finished, but I just have some decking laid up there, just have something to walk on while we're done for this particular reason here. You can see I've added the second set of posts. I've got the full post in the ground every 8 foot, but I wanted to have a support for my rail every 4 foot. So I added additional half posts there onto the deck itself. A couple of these have warped since. I'm going to have to go back and replace them. Some of the wood I was getting, I've tried Lowe's and Home Depot, and I just wasn't having very good luck with wood. I was getting a lot of warpage on some of the posts, and you'll see later some of the balusters. I was having significant issues getting decent balusters that didn't warp the minute they got out in the sun. I think they're just not being dried enough. I took quite a few pictures here just showing kind of the deck from every angle to give everyone a good idea of what it looks like, of the size of it. And here you can see I finally got to the point of actually putting decking down. I'm about halfway done with the decking. I've got it pretty much done for the first half of the deck there, about 4 feet worth. We bought some Craig spacers that we used to separate the boards to make sure we had the correct spacing. I had a board bender that I used. The decking itself is actually reclaimed wood. It was picnic tables in a prior life. I've got a few posts on my blog about taking those picnic tables apart, cleaning the wood up, staining it, getting it ready. I mean, it probably saved me $400 or $500 off the cost of the deck, just not having to do with that decking at all. It was all 2x6 by 10 foot material. It'd been treated, but obviously, like I said, it was quite a few years old, but it was had plenty of life left in it. I actually stuck the little stickers on the end there, some of them just to make them look as if they were new boards, but it's kind of obvious they're not if you get up close to them. And here you can kind of see I've got a little too much space between the camper and the deck. I was kind of concerned about putting the deck right up against the camper, because at some point I may have to pull the camper out, may replace it, may need to get service done, And if it's right up against it, how in the world am I going to be able to pull it out and get it back in exactly, within an inch tolerance or something? I know I can't back it up to that type of tolerance there. So I left about a little less than a foot space, but it's too much space. It'd be too easy to fall in there, and at some point I want to be able to have the dog stay up on the deck while we're out in the yard doing something, and that way don't have to be with us every second. But again, there's so much space there, dogs could just get right out. So I'm working on a solution to make a removable part of the deck that will connect the deck to the camper and just, have around an inch of tolerance there, so you can, not have space for anyone to fall through or for the dogs to get out. But at the same time, I could take it down if I need to remove the camper. As soon as I get that done, I'll do another video to kind of show how that works. So here you can see I've got the rest of the decking put down. I obviously didn't trim off the ends yet. At this point, I'll come back and do that later, do it with a circular saw so I'll just even straight across. And all in all, I've been very happy with the way the deck turned out. I was kind of wondering, since I was going to be mixing two types of wood as far as aged treated wood that's been stained versus brand new treated wood, but overall it looks decent to me. So here you can see I've added the steps on that first picture there, the true steps. They're not completely finished in that picture, but here I've added the top and the bottom of the railing there that's going to hold the balusters, and then I've got the rail itself up top, which is a 2x6 treated. And you can see I've got that finished now. So now to me the deck is pretty much a deck at this point. I mean, it needs the balusters. I've got a pad to step off of under the steps. I've got the steps themselves in. I just have to come back at this point and finish putting on the balusters. And that's really where I ran into the biggest issue, as I mentioned, with wood warpage, was just strictly on the balusters. I would go to Home Depot and buy packs and packs of I think it was 16 quantity balusters, and get them home and take the banding straps off, and I swear probably 5 or 6 out of each 16 package would be bad, and I would just load them all up and take them back and come out with new packs. And I did that 2 or 3 times because, again, I think I was buying about 100 balusters, so it took quite a few trips. I know the people were tired of seeing me at that point in Home Depot. So you can see the sun setting there. You get a little nice view of the sky over the lake. You can see I've got some of the balusters up. I've got lights up over the balusters. So there's little solar lights that sit there and charge during the day and just provide a little bit of light at night, just to kind of give some ambience to the deck. You can see I got the balusters done through the front part and the side, but I didn't get the back done yet in this picture. But as you can see, it's starting to take form and turn into a real deck. Now, I was kind of concerned about the size. I mean, like I said, at one point I wanted a full 14 by 14 in the back. I haven't added that part yet. I'm probably going to turn around and request to do that a little later, probably in 2020, to get that finished. But at least at this point, I've got a functional deck. It's a little bigger than what I anticipated lengthwise, but it still provides a lot of usable space. We've got a table and chairs up there. We've actually got quite a few things that we can put up there and be able to survive if it's raining or if it's muddy. And that's one of my favorite pictures right there. It's just the look over the lake as the sun's starting to go down, and you can sit up on the deck and, or sit up in the morning, watch the sun come up and drink your coffee. I think the lights add a lot. I was really impressed with how much just the lights add. Because typically when I was showing people video or pictures of it's the first thing they say, "Oh, I love your lighting on the deck." And I mean, I'm like, okay, that was a $20 add-on. I think I bought 2 $12 packs of solar lights from Amazon, and so it was like $24. I spent like $1,000 on the deck, and everybody wants to comment on the $24 lights, but I guess I'll take what I can get out of it. Just kind of a view of the whole deck, and that's really when I'm there most of the time. Typically at night I'm not going to have the awning out, but during the day it helps at least cover it and make it a little more livable up there. You see there is a little of the decking I haven't finished there on the outside yet. I've still got to work on that, get the last few pieces up. See, I'm starting to put the balusters around to the side here. You again see the gap between the camper and the deck that I'll be addressing soon. Just a couple more views with now that I've got some balusters up, so you can kind of see. And I pretty much built a jig on my miter saw and on my drill press to get all the balusters pre-drilled and pre-cut to the correct length. That way it was just a simple matter of putting in a top screw, using a spacer to get them all spaced correctly, and then coming back with a level and putting in the bottom screw. It was a very fast process. And as I mentioned before, here's a couple of pictures showing some of the warping on some of the balusters. I mean, it was pretty significant. These were actually up in place and warped like that while they were up there. So I just took those down, threw them away, and replaced them. And obviously you guys know what a kayak looks like, but this is just a picture to show the kayak itself. And that's the problem, is they're very large. I needed somewhere to put them, and that's kind of the goal here, was to make sure I had enough space under this. I'm probably going to build something to hold them, but at this point they just kind of set on some wood and slide up under there. But I do obviously want to get some covers, because right now it's too easy for the bugs and spiders to get in there. And here's some of the deer. Let's say the one direction we face the lake, we get a good view of the sunset and just looking at the lake during the day. The other direction, we've got a little wooded area there, and we get quite a few deer. We have a feeder out that runs at dusk and dawn, and we have my wife just loves to walk over there, and she has a little plastic cup, and she'll just shake it and pour corn out, and the deer just almost come running the minute she walks away from it. And we just really enjoy watching the deer and loving our new deck. This picture was taken from the deck at one of the times there. So please, if you've enjoyed this at all or gotten anything up from it, please like, subscribe, comment, leave me any suggestions, anything you've tried. Here's a link to my blog. I've got some more detail on the parts I used. And again, this is Wind Point Park, Texas. It's on Lake Tawakoni. Texas' 10th largest lake.